Tonight, we drift into the invisible realm that surrounds us every moment of our lives, yet remains as mysterious as the distant stars themselves. Welcome, gentle traveler, to a journey through the ethereal world of scent, where molecules dance like cosmic dust through the vast spaces of our consciousness, carrying with them stories older than memory and dreams more vivid than sight. In this moment, as you settle into the soft embrace of twilight, imagine yourself floating in a sea of invisible chemistry, where every breath you take is a communion with the universe itself. The air around you is not empty space, but a rich tapestry woven from countless molecular messengers, each one a tiny ambassador from the eye, world beyond your senses, each one carrying secrets that have traveled from flowers blooming in distant meadows, from oceans that kissed the shore this morning, from forests breathing in the moonlight. Your nose, that humble gateway to wonder, is in truth a cosmic antenna, more sensitive than any instrument humanity has ever devised. Within its gentle chambers lie millions of molecular receptors, each one a key waiting for the perfect lock, each one a translator capable of converting the language of chemistry into the poetry of experience. These microscopic sentinels work tirelessly even as you sleep, decoding the invisible messages that drift on every breeze, float in every sigh, and spiral through every dream. As we begin this gentle exploration together, let your mind become like a sailing ship on calm waters, drifting effortlessly through seas of understanding that require no effort, no strain, only the soft surrender to wonder. We shall discover how the very atoms that formed in ancient stars now dance across your olfactory receptors, how the same chemical principles that govern galaxies also orchestrate the simple miracle of catching the scent of rain on summer earth. Tonight, science becomes poetry, and facts transform into lullabies. We will journey together through 10 chambers of discovery, each one designed to deepen your understanding while simultaneously deepening your rest. Along the way, you may find your eyelids growing heavy with the weight of wonder, your breathing slowing to match the ancient rhythms of the universe itself. This is not merely learning. This is a gentle descent into the profound interconnectedness of all things, where the chemistry of smell becomes a bridge between the cosmos and consciousness. If this journey touches something deep within your dreaming mind, perhaps you might gently press the like button or subscribe to join our constellation of fellow travelers who seek wisdom in the whisper of sleep. But for now, simply allow yourself to float, to drift, to become one with the invisible chemistry that connects all living things in an eternal, aromatic embrace. Imagine, if you will, that you are floating in the infinite darkness of space, surrounded not by emptiness, but by an invisible ocean of molecular messengers. These are the aromatic compounds, the scent molecules that make up the very fabric of the olfactory universe. Each one is so small that millions could dance on the head of a pin, yet each carries within its atomic structure the power to unlock memories, trigger emotions, and transport consciousness across vast distances of time and space. In the cosmic ballet that occurs every moment around you, these molecular messengers are continuously being born. When a rose unfolds its petals in a garden somewhere, it releases into the atmosphere hundreds of different chemical compounds: geraniol, citronellol, Damascenone, each one a tiny spacecraft launched into the sea of air, each one carrying the essence of roseness encoded in its very molecular structure. These compounds begin their journey as vibrations within the cellular machinery of the flower, translations of DNA instructions into chemical reality, transformations of sunlight and soil, nutrients into pure, crystallized beauty. As these molecules drift away from their source, they become part of the atmosphere's great circulation, riding on currents of air that flow like invisible rivers through our world. A molecule of vanillin that escaped from an orchid in Madagascar might travel across oceans, over continents, through seasons and storms, before finally finding its way to the delicate receptors in your nose. In that moment of contact, that microscopic collision between wandering molecule and waiting receptor, the orchid's distant dream becomes your present reality. The physics of this process mirrors the grandest scales of cosmic phenomena, just as gravity shapes the movement of planets and stars. The forces of molecular attraction and repulsion guide these chemical messengers through their atmospheric journeys. Thermal motion, that gentle agitation caused by heat energy, sends them tumbling and spinning through space like microscopic comets. Air pressure becomes their gravitational field, and humidity acts as their interstellar medium, sometimes slowing their progress, sometimes accelerating their passage toward destiny. Consider the remarkable fact that smell molecules must be volatile. They must be light enough and energetic enough to escape the bonds that hold them to their source and venture forth into the great unknown. This volatility is not random. It is a precisely calibrated property that evolution has fine-tuned over millions of years. The molecules that carry the scent of jasmine are perfectly designed to achieve escape velocity from the flower's surface, to remain stable during their atmospheric journey, and to maintain their structural integrity until the moment of recognition. When you inhale, you are not simply taking in air, you are gathering into your lungs a constellation of molecular stories. The breath you draw might contain compounds that were once part of a cedar tree growing on a mountainside, mixed with molecules that evaporated from rain puddles in city streets, combined with traces of compounds that drifted from bakeries where bread is rising, gardens where herbs are growing, and oceans where salt spray catches the morning light. Each inhalation is a cosmic sampling, a gathering of the world's chemical diversity into the sanctuary of your respiratory system. The journey of these molecules from their origin to your awareness represents one of nature's most elegant information transfer systems. Unlike the electromagnetic radiation that brings us light from distant stars, smell molecules are matter itself, actual pieces of the aromatic source traveling through space and time to deliver their message directly to your consciousness. When you smell a pine forest, you're not merely detecting the signature of pine compounds. You are literally breathing in molecules that were recently part of those living trees. Molecules that carry within their atomic arrangements the very essence of pineness. This molecular migration operates on principles that would make any aerospace engineer marvel. The compounds must be stable enough to survive their journey yet reactive enough to trigger detection. They must be dense enough to carry meaningful information, yet light enough to remain airborne. They must be distinctive enough to convey specific messages, yet compatible enough with our biological detection systems to be recognized and interpreted. It is a masterpiece of chemical engineering that has been perfected over millions of years of evolutionary trial and refinement. As these molecular messengers drift through the atmosphere, they interact with countless other compounds, sometimes forming temporary alliances, sometimes undergoing subtle transformations, always participating in the vast chemical symphony that is our planet's aromatic signature. The smell of rain on dry earth, that distinctive essence called petrichor, emerges not from any single source, but from the complex interactions between atmospheric compounds, earth minerals, and the oils released by plants during dry periods. It is chemistry as poetry, molecular interaction as music. The speed at which these molecular messengers travel varies with conditions, but even the slowest moving aromatic compounds can cross vast distances with surprising rapidity. A molecule released from a flower in the morning might find its way to a nose on the other side of a city by evening, carried on winds and breezes, dispersed by thermal currents, guided by the invisible hand of atmospheric dynamics. The fastest moving compounds can traverse miles in minutes, making the world of smell a real time communication network that connects all breathing beings in an ongoing chemical conversation. In the quantum realm, where these molecules exist, the laws of chemistry reveal themselves as variations on cosmic themes. The same electromagnetic forces that hold atoms together in stars also maintain the structural integrity of aromatic compounds. The same principles of energy and entropy that govern galaxy formation also determine whether a particular molecule will evaporate from its source and begin its journey toward your awareness. At the molecular level, chemistry and physics merge into a single, elegant dance of forces and forms. The diversity of these molecular messengers is staggering. Scientists have identified thousands of different aromatic compounds in nature, from the simple two-carbon molecule of ethylene that helps fruits ripen to the complex multi-ring structures of compounds like muscone, which gives musk its distinctive character. Each molecular architecture represents a different key in the vast keyboard of scent, each one capable of producing its own unique note in the symphony of olfactory experience. Some molecules are linear chains of carbon atoms adorned with functional groups, while others form rings and spirals and three-dimensional sculptures of atomic artistry. The molecular messengers that carry floral scents often contain oxygen atoms that give them their volatile character and their ability to bind with our olfactory receptors. The compounds responsible for fruit aromas frequently feature ester groups, molecular arrangements that combine acids and alcohols in harmonious union. The molecules that convey the scents of herbs and spices often incorporate aromatic rings, circular arrangements of carbon atoms that provide stability and distinctiveness. Each molecular family speaks its own chemical dialect in the universal language of smell. As night deepens and these molecular messengers continue their eternal dance through the atmosphere around you, remember that you're not separate from this chemical symphony, but an integral part of it. With every exhale, you release your own molecular signature into the world, compounds that speak of your unique biological processes, your recent meals, your emotional state, even your genetic heritage. You are both receiver and transmitter in this vast network of chemical communication, both audience and performer in the ongoing olfactory opera that connects all life on Earth. The molecular messengers of scent remind us that the boundaries between self and world are far more permeable than our everyday awareness suggests. When you smell the ocean, you are literally incorporating pieces of that ocean into your body and consciousness. When you detect the fragrance of a distant barbecue, molecules that were recently part of cooking food are now part of your internal chemical environment. The world flows into you with every breath, and you flow into the world with every exhalation in an endless exchange of molecular messengers that makes all beings participants in a single, vast, interconnected system of chemical communication. Deep within the warm, moist caverns of your nasal passages lies one of nature's most sophisticated detection systems, a collection of molecular antennae more sensitive than any radio telescope, more discriminating than any analytical instrument ever devised by human ingenuity. These are your olfactory receptors, microscopic sentinels that stand ready to translate the chemical whispers of the world into the language of consciousness, transforming molecular encounters into the rich tapestry of scent experience that colors every moment of your waking and sleeping life. Imagine yourself shrinking down to the size of a molecule, drifting through the nasal cavity like a cosmic voyager exploring an alien landscape. The walls around you are lined with millions upon millions of specialized cells, each one extending delicate protein structures called receptors into the airspace. Like flowers reaching towards sunlight, these receptors are not randomly distributed, but organized with precision that rivals the most complex communication networks. Each one is a unique molecular shape, a three-dimensional lock, waiting for exactly the right chemical key to trigger its response. The mechanics of this detection system operate on principles that mirror the fundamental forces of the universe. When an aromatic molecule encounters its matching receptor, the interaction is governed by the same electromagnetic forces that hold atoms together and guide planets in their orbits. The shape of the molecule must complement the shape of the receptor with exquisite precision, a molecular handshake that involves hydrogen bonds, van der Waals forces, and the subtle dance of electrons around atomic nuclei. It is chemistry at its most intimate, physics at its most personal. What makes this system truly remarkable is its incredible sensitivity. Your olfactory receptors can detect the presence of certain molecules at concentrations so low they challenge the boundaries of measurement. A single molecule of some compounds can trigger a detectable response, while others require only a few dozen molecules to register their presence. To put this in cosmic perspective, if the Earth's atmosphere were scaled up to the size of the observable universe, your nose could detect the equivalent of a few grains of sand scattered across that infinite expanse. The diversity of your olfactory receptor arsenal is equally astounding. Humans possess approximately 400 different types of functional olfactory receptors, each one specialized to recognize different molecular features, different sizes, shapes, functional groups, and chemical properties. Some receptors are tuned to detect the presence of sulfur compounds, those molecules that give garlic its pungency and rotten eggs their warning signal. Others specialize in recognizing the ester compounds that create fruit fragrances or the terpenes that give pine forests their distinctive character. This molecular recognition system operates through a process called signal transduction, a cascade of chemical events that transforms the binding of a scent molecule into an electrical signal that your brain can interpret. When the right molecule finds the right receptor, it causes a conformational change, a subtle shift in the receptor's three-dimensional structure that triggers a series of intracellular events. Ion channels open, allowing charged particles to flow across cell membranes. Chemical messengers, called second messengers, amplify the signal. Within milliseconds, the quiet collision between molecule and receptor has been transformed into a neural impulse racing toward your brain at the speed of thought. The amplification power of this system is truly cosmic in scale. A single molecular binding event can ultimately generate thousands of neural signals, creating a cascade effect that ensures even the faintest whisper of scent can be detected and processed. It is as if each olfactory receptor were connected to a vast amplification network, turning molecular murmurs into symphonic announcements that resonate through the chambers of consciousness. But these cosmic antennae within your nose are not merely passive detectors. They're active participants in the ongoing chemical dialogue between your body and the world. The sensitivity of your olfactory receptors changes throughout the day, influenced by circadian rhythms, hormonal fluctuations, emotional states, and even the foods you have eaten. During certain times of the day, particularly in the evening hours when your body prepares for rest, these receptors can become even more sensitive, allowing you to detect subtle fragrances that might go unnoticed during the busy daylight hours. The gross evolutionary history of these molecular antennae stretches back hundreds of millions of years to the earliest organisms that needed to navigate their chemical environment to find food, avoid danger, and locate mates. Your olfactory receptors are descendants of ancient chemical detection systems that helped life itself survive and flourish on this planet. They carry within their molecular structure the accumulated wisdom of countless generations of evolutionary refinement, the distilled essence of survival strategies that have been tested and perfected over geological time. Each type of olfactory receptor is encoded by a specific gene, making your sense of smell a direct expression of your genetic heritage. The particular combination of receptor types you possess is as unique as your fingerprints, creating your own personal olfactory signature, your individual way of experiencing the chemical world. Some people possess genetic variations that make them particularly sensitive to certain compounds, while others may have reduced sensitivity to specific molecular families. This genetic diversity ensures that human populations maintain a broad spectrum of chemical detection capabilities, a survival strategy written in the language of DNA. The spatial organization of these receptors within your nasal cavity follows patterns that maximize their effectiveness. Receptors sensitive to water soluble compounds are positioned where they will encounter the moist, humid air near the front of the nasal cavity. Those specialized for detecting fat soluble compounds are located in areas where aromatic molecules are more likely to concentrate. The overall arrangement creates a detection grid that samples the chemical composition of incoming air with remarkable thoroughness and efficiency. The regenerative capacity of your olfactory system is unique among sensory modalities. Unlike the photoreceptors in your eyes or the hair cells in your ears, olfactory neurons can be replaced throughout your lifetime. New receptor cells are continuously being born from stem cells, migrating to their designated positions, extending their molecular antennae into the airspace, and beginning their watch for chemical signals. This ongoing renewal ensures that your sense of smell can maintain its acuity even as individual receptor cells are damaged by pollutants, infections, or the simple wear and tear of chemical detection. The connection between these molecular antennae and your brain follows pathways that are among the most direct in your entire nervous system. Olfactory neurons send their signals along the olfactory nerve directly to the olfactory bulb, a specialized brain structure that serves as the first processing station for smell information. From there, connections extend to brain regions involved in emotion, memory, and behavior, explaining why scents can trigger such immediate and powerful psychological responses. During sleep, these cosmic antennae within your nose continue their vigilant watch, though their sensitivity is modulated by the same neural mechanisms that regulate other aspects of consciousness. Even while you dream, your olfactory receptors are sampling the chemical environment, ready to alert you to significant changes: the smoke of a fire, the presence of food, the familiar scent of a loved one. They serve as chemical guardians, maintaining your connection to the molecular world even in the depths of slumber. The quantum nature of molecular recognition adds another layer of wonder to these cosmic antennae. Some researchers propose that olfactory receptors may be sensitive not only to the shapes of molecules, but also to their vibrational frequencies, the quantum mechanical oscillations that occur when molecular bonds stretch and compress. If this theory proves correct, your nose would be functioning as a quantum detector, reading the vibrational signatures of molecules like a cosmic spectrometer tuned to the music of the molecular sphere. As you rest tonight, surrounded by the gentle chemistry of the evening air, your olfactory receptors continue their eternal dance with the molecular world. They are your cosmic antennae, your chemical ambassadors, your molecular interpreters, transforming the invisible language of scent into the poetry of experience, connecting you to the vast web of chemical communication that encompasses all of life on Earth and links your consciousness to the fundamental forces that govern the universe itself. Take a deep, slow breath and allow your mind to float on the gentle currents of molecular recognition, feeling your cosmic antennae sampling the chemical poetry of the night air around you. In the deepest chambers of your mind, there exists a garden more vast and mysterious than any landscape on earth, a place where the fragrances of every moment you have ever lived continue to bloom in eternal springtime. This is the garden of olfactory memory, where sense and experiences intertwine like climbing roses on the trellises of time, where a single molecular whisper can transport you across decades in the space of a heartbeat, where the chemistry of smell becomes the chemistry of remembrance itself. Unlike other forms of memory, which must travel through multiple way stations in the brain before reaching their destination, olfactory memories take a direct path to the most primitive and emotional regions of your consciousness. When you inhale the scent of fresh baked bread, the molecules responsible for that aroma travel from your olfactory receptors to your olfactory bulb, and from there directly to the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, and the amygdala, the seat of emotion. This direct connection explains why scents can unlock memories with such startling vividness and emotional intensity, why the smell of your grandmother's perfume can bring tears to your eyes decades after her passing. The formation of these olfactory memories begins in the very first moments of life, even before birth, while floating in the warm, aqueous environment of the womb. The developing olfactory system is already learning to recognize the chemical signatures that will become the foundation of emotional bonding. The compounds that cross the placental barrier carry information about the mother's diet, her environment, even her emotional state, creating the first molecular memories that will influence behavior and preference throughout life. After birth, this memory garden begins to flourish with extraordinary rapidity. Each feeding brings new aromatic experiences, the sweet complexity of milk, the comforting presence of maternal pheromones, the subtle chemical variations that help a newborn recognize its mother among all others. These early olfactory memories become templates for safety, comfort, and love, chemical blueprints for emotional security that remain active throughout life. The infant brain, with its remarkable plasticity, weaves these molecular experiences into the very fabric of developing consciousness. As childhood unfolds, the memory garden expands to encompass the full spectrum of aromatic experience. The smell of rain on summer pavement becomes associated with freedom and play. The fragrance of holiday cooking intertwines with feelings of warmth and belonging. The scent of school supplies mingles with excitement and apprehension. Each aromatic encounter is not simply detected and forgotten, but is woven into the growing tapestry of identity, becoming part of the chemical autobiography that defines who you are and how you experience the world. The neurochemistry underlying these olfactory memories involves some of the same molecular pathways that govern other forms of learning and memory, but with unique characteristics that set scent memories apart. When you encounter a familiar fragrance, the recognition process triggers the release of neurotransmitters that not only create the conscious experience of smelling, but also activate the neural networks where associated memories are stored. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward and motivation, often accompanies positive olfactory memories, while stress hormones may be released in response to scents associated with negative experiences. The durability of olfactory memories is legendary among memory researchers. While visual and auditory memories may fade with time, becoming increasingly vague and uncertain, scent memories can retain their vividness and emotional power across entire lifetimes. The molecular basis for this durability lies in the unique way olfactory information is processed and stored. Because scent memories are formed through direct connections to primitive brain regions that evolved to prioritize survival relevant information, they are encoded with unusual strength and persistence. The precision of olfactory memory is equally remarkable. Your brain can distinguish between thousands of different aromatic compounds and can remember the specific chemical signatures of experiences that occurred decades ago. The smell of a particular brand of soap can instantly transport you to a childhood bathroom. The fragrance of a specific flower can recreate the emotional atmosphere of a long ago garden walk. This precision arises from the fact that each scent creates a unique pattern of receptor activation, a molecular fingerprint that becomes permanently associated with the circumstances in which it was first encountered. The contextual nature of olfactory memory means that scents do not exist in isolation in your memory garden, but are always intertwined with the full sensory and emotional context in which they were experienced. The smell of coffee is not just the aroma of roasted beans, but the complete experience of morning rituals, the warmth of the cup in your hands, the anticipation of the day ahead, the comfort of familiar routines. This contextual richness makes olfactory memories particularly powerful tools for emotional regulation and psychological well being. The social dimensions of olfactory memory add another layer of complexity to this already intricate system. Human beings, like many other mammals, use chemical signals to communicate information about identity, emotional state, health, and genetic compatibility. Though we are largely unconscious of this chemical communication, our brains are continuously processing and storing information about the olfactory signatures of the people in our lives. The unique scent of a romantic partner becomes deeply embedded in memory, creating chemical bonds that complement emotional ones. Cultural influences also shape the contents of your olfactory memory garden. The aromatic landscape of your childhood, determined by geography, cuisine, local flora, industrial activity, and countless other factors, becomes part of your fundamental definition of home. People who move far from their birthplace often experience olfactory nostalgia, a longing triggered by the absence of familiar chemical signatures and the presence of unfamiliar aromatic environments. The scents that populate your memory garden are thus both deeply personal and inevitably cultural, individual, and collective simultaneously. The therapeutic potential of olfactory memory has been recognized by healers and therapists across cultures and throughout history. Aromatherapy operates on the principle that specific scents can reliably trigger specific psychological and physiological responses based on memory associations and direct neurochemical effects. The scent of lavender, for example, has been used for centuries to promote relaxation and sleep, partly because its molecular structure has direct calming effects on the nervous system, and partly because cultural associations have linked lavender's fragrance with rest and tranquility. The molecular mechanisms underlying scent memory involve the synthesis of new proteins in neural synapses, the strengthening of connections between brain cells, and the formation of new neural pathways that link olfactory recognition with emotional and contextual information. Each time you encounter a familiar scent, these neural pathways are reactivated and slightly modified, allowing memories to evolve and adapt while maintaining their essential character. This dynamic quality means that your olfactory memories are not static recordings, but living, breathing aspects of consciousness that grow and change with you throughout life. Sleep plays a crucial role in the consolidation of olfactory memories. During the deep sleep phases, when consciousness retreats and the brain enters its maintenance mode, the day's aromatic experiences are sorted, processed, and integrated into the existing memory structure. The neural pathways formed during waking encounters with scent are strengthened and refined during sleep, ensuring that significant olfactory experiences become permanently embedded in the memory garden. This is why familiar scents encountered just before sleep can sometimes appear in dreams, and why the aromatic environment of the bedroom can influence the quality and content of dream experiences. The aging process affects olfactory memory in complex ways. While the sensitivity of smell receptors may decline with age, the memories formed in earlier decades often remain remarkably intact. Elderly individuals who have lost much of their ability to detect new scents may still experience vivid olfactory memories triggered by faint traces of familiar fragrances. This persistence suggests that once formed, the neural pathways underlying scent memories become deeply ingrained in brain structure, resistant to the changes that affect other cognitive functions. As you drift deeper into the restful embrace of sleep tonight, your memory garden continues its eternal blooming. The scents you encountered today, the morning coffee, the afternoon breeze, the evening meal, are being woven into the growing tapestry of your aromatic autobiography. Tomorrow, these experiences will have become part of your olfactory history, ready to be triggered by future molecular encounters, ready to color future moments with the emotional resonance of remembered fragrance. In the chemistry of smell, past and present merge into a single, continuous experience of aromatic consciousness that connects you to every moment you have ever lived and breathed. Flowing through the air around you at this very moment is an invisible symphony of emotional communication, a chemical language more ancient than words, more immediate than thought, more honest than any conscious expression. This is the realm of emotional aromatics, where molecules become messengers of feeling, where the chemistry of scent intertwines with the chemistry of emotion to create a continuous, unconscious dialogue between hearts and minds, between bodies and souls, between the inner world of feeling and the outer world of molecular reality. The relationship between scent and emotion operates through neural pathways that bypass the rational, thinking parts of your brain and connect directly to the limbic system, that primitive network of brain structures that governs emotion, motivation, and survival behavior. When you inhale the fragrance of roses, the molecules responsible for that scent travel from your olfactory receptors to brain regions that were ancient when your earliest mammalian ancestors first emerged, regions that know nothing of logic or analysis, but everything about the fundamental feelings that guide life itself. This is why scents can trigger emotional responses so immediate and powerful that they seem to arise from somewhere deeper than consciousness itself. The molecular basis of this emotional communication lies in the remarkable fact that many aromatic compounds share structural similarities with the neurotransmitters and hormones that regulate mood and emotion. The scent molecule linalool, found in lavender and many other flowers, has a molecular architecture that allows it to interact with the same neural receptors that respond to calming neurotransmitters. The compound vanillin, which gives vanilla its distinctive fragrance, can trigger the release of endorphins, those natural opiates that create feelings of pleasure and well being. The chemistry of scent and the chemistry of emotion are not separate phenomena, but different aspects of a single integrated biological system. Consider the way certain scents can instantly transport you from one emotional state to another. The smell of fresh bread might replace anxiety with comfort. The fragrance of ocean air might transform fatigue into vitality. The scent of wood smoke might shift loneliness into nostalgia for connection. These transformations occur not through conscious decision or mental effort, but through direct molecular interaction between aromatic compounds and the neural systems that regulate emotional experience. Your emotional state is continuously being influenced by the chemical composition of the air you breathe, creating a dynamic dance between inner feeling and outer atmosphere. The timing of these emotional responses to scent is extraordinarily rapid. Within milliseconds of inhaling an aromatic compound, before you have even consciously registered the presence of a smell, your emotional brain has already begun to respond. Neural circuits that took millions of years to evolve can shift your entire psychological state in less time than it takes to complete a single breath. This speed of response reflects the evolutionary importance of chemical communication. In the natural world, the ability to instantly recognize and respond to molecular signals often meant the difference between life and death, between safety and danger, between finding a mate and remaining alone. The individual variations in emotional responses to scent create a vast spectrum of aromatic personalities. What triggers profound calm in one person might create excitement in another. What brings comfort to some might evoke sadness in others. These differences arise from the complex interaction between genetic factors that determine receptor sensitivity, personal history that shapes memory associations, cultural influences that assign meaning to different scents, and current physiological states that modulate neural responses. Your emotional relationship with the aromatic world is as unique as your fingerprints, as personal as your dreams. The social dimensions of emotional aromatics reveal themselves in the subtle ways that people unconsciously communicate their feelings through chemical signals. When you experience fear, your body releases compounds that can be detected by others, triggering unconscious responses of alertness or anxiety. When you feel attracted to someone, your chemistry changes in ways that can influence their emotional state. When you are happy and relaxed, you emit different molecular signatures than when you are stressed or angry. This chemical emotional communication operates below the threshold of consciousness, creating invisible bonds and influences that shape social interactions in ways we are only beginning to understand. The therapeutic applications of emotional aromatics have been recognized across cultures for thousands of years. Essential oils distilled from plants contain concentrated aromatic compounds that can reliably influence mood and emotional state. The practice of aromatherapy is based on the understanding that specific molecular structures can trigger specific emotional responses, that the scent of jasmine can elevate mood, that eucalyptus can increase alertness, that sandalwood can promote spiritual contemplation. Modern neuroscience is revealing the molecular mechanisms underlying these ancient practices, showing how aromatic compounds interact with neurotransmitter systems to create predictable changes in emotional experience. The circadian rhythms that govern your sleep wake cycle also influence your emotional responses to scent. During the evening hours, as your body prepares for rest, your sensitivity to certain aromatic compounds increases while your response to others decreases. The scents that promote alertness and activity during the day, citrus fragrances, mint, pine, become less stimulating as night approaches. Meanwhile, your receptivity to calming, sedating aromas increases, making evening the ideal time for encountering the molecular messengers that facilitate the transition from wakefulness to sleep. The connection between emotional aromatics and memory creates feedback loops that can profoundly influence psychological well being. Scents associated with positive emotional experiences can be used to deliberately trigger those same emotional states in the future. The fragrance of a flower from a happy day can be recalled months or years later to recreate some of that same happiness. Conversely, avoiding scents associated with traumatic experiences can help maintain emotional equilibrium. This relationship between scent and emotional memory makes the aromatic environment a powerful tool for emotional regulation and psychological healing. The seasonal cycles of natural aromatics create an ongoing emotional rhythm that connects human experience to the larger cycles of the natural world. Spring flowers release compounds that tend to elevate mood and increase energy, supporting the psychological renewal that accompanies seasonal renewal. Summer herbs and grassy scent fragrances that promote activity and social interaction. Autumn leaves and ripening fruits fill the air with scents that encourage introspection and preparation for winter's quietude. Winter's sparse aromatic landscape allows for rest and contemplation, preparing the emotional ground for spring's eventual return. The molecular diversity of emotional aromatics ensures that there are chemical triggers for virtually every shade of feeling. The green, herbaceous compounds released by growing plants can evoke feelings of renewal and hope. The rich, complex molecules that emanate from soil after rain can create a sense of grounding and stability. The sweet, fruity esters that give ripe Fruit, its fragrance, can trigger happiness and satisfaction. The woody, resinous compounds from trees can promote feelings of strength and endurance. Each molecular family speaks its own emotional dialect in the universal language of aromatic feeling. The intensity of emotional responses to scent varies not only between individuals but also within the same person across different states of consciousness. During relaxed, meditative states, when the rational mind's controlling influence is reduced, emotional responses to aromatics can become particularly pronounced. This heightened sensitivity explains why scents encountered during massage, meditation, or the drowsy moments before sleep can have such powerful emotional impacts. The molecules remain the same, but the brain's receptivity to their emotional messages increases dramatically. The future of understanding emotional aromatics lies in the emerging field of molecular psychology, which explores how specific chemical structures interact with neural systems to influence thought, feeling, and behavior. As we develop more sophisticated ways of analyzing the molecular composition of air and more precise methods of measuring neural responses, we are beginning to map the exact relationships between chemical structure and emotional effect. This knowledge opens possibilities for using aromatic compounds with unprecedented precision to support emotional well being and psychological healing. As you settle more deeply into the peaceful embrace of this evening's rest, your emotional brain continues its ongoing conversation with the aromatic world around you. The molecules drifting through your bedroom air are not merely detected and cataloged, but are integrated into your emotional experience, subtly influencing your mood, your sense of well being, your readiness for sleep and dreams. In the invisible language of emotion that flows through every breath, your inner world and the outer atmosphere merge into a single, harmonious dialogue between feeling and fragrance, between the chemistry of consciousness and the molecular poetry of the night. Take a deep, slow breath and allow your mind to float in the gentle stream of emotional chemistry that connects your inner feelings with the aromatic world around you. In the subtle choreography of human connection, there exists a dance more ancient and mysterious than any conscious courtship ritual, the molecular dance of attraction, where invisible chemical messengers carry information about identity, health, genetic compatibility, and emotional availability across the spaces between bodies, creating bonds and influences that operate entirely below the threshold of awareness, yet profoundly shape the landscape of love, friendship, and social connection. This chemical communication system, refined over millions of years of evolutionary development, operates through compounds called pheromones, molecular messengers that convey biological information from one individual to another. Unlike the aromatic compounds that we consciously perceive as scents, pheromones often work their influence without ever registering in conscious awareness, affecting behavior, emotion, and attraction through direct interaction with neural systems that bypass the thinking mind entirely. They are the chemical vocabulary of an unconscious conversation that has been ongoing for as long as complex life has existed on Earth. The molecular structure of human pheromones reflects their sophisticated communicative function. These compounds are typically small, volatile molecules that can easily become airborne and travel through the atmosphere to reach potential recipients. Their chemical architecture is precisely calibrated to remain stable during atmospheric transport while retaining the structural specificity needed to convey accurate information. Some pheromones are steroids, sharing molecular similarities with hormones like testosterone and estrogen, allowing them to communicate information about reproductive status and sexual maturity. Others are fatty acids or their derivatives, molecules that can carry information about individual identity and genetic heritage. The detection of pheromones involves specialized neural pathways that differ from those used for ordinary scent perception. While some pheromones are detected by regular olfactory receptors in the nose, others are sensed by a separate organ called the vomeronasal organ, located in the nasal septum. This specialized detector, present in many mammals but vestigial in humans, connects directly to brain regions involved in reproductive behavior and social bonding. Even though the human vomeronasal organ is not fully functional, recent research suggests that pheromone detection can occur through regular olfactory pathways, with the chemical messages being processed by brain circuits dedicated to social and reproductive behavior. The timing of pheromone release and detection follows subtle rhythms that synchronize with biological cycles. Women's pheromone production varies throughout the menstrual cycle, with different compounds being emphasized during different phases of fertility. Men's pheromone signatures reflect their testosterone levels, health status, and even their genetic makeup. These chemical signatures are continuously being updated and broadcast, creating a dynamic information field that communicates real-time biological status to anyone with the neural equipment to receive and interpret the signals. The genetic basis of pheromone communication reveals one of its most important functions, the assessment of genetic compatibility. Research has shown that people are unconsciously attracted to partners whose genetic makeup complements their own, particularly in genes related to immune system function. This genetic compatibility is communicated through pheromones that reflect the individual's genetic heritage. The molecules that create your unique chemical signature are partly determined by your genes, particularly those involved in immune function, creating a system where genetic diversity, crucial for healthy offspring, is promoted through chemical attraction. The emotional dimensions of pheromone communication extend far beyond simple attraction to encompass the full spectrum of social bonding. The chemical signature of a newborn baby triggers powerful nurturing responses in parents, creating molecular bonds that complement the psychological and emotional connections of family relationships. The pheromones released during physical contact, such as hugging or hand holding, can synchronize emotional states between individuals, creating chemical empathy that enhances psychological intimacy. Even friendships involve subtle pheromone exchanges that help establish and maintain social bonds. The cultural aspects of attraction, pheromones create fascinating intersections between biology and society. Different cultures have different practices regarding personal hygiene, perfume use, and the masking or enhancement of natural body odors. These practices can either amplify or suppress the natural pheromone communication system, sometimes creating conflicts between conscious preferences and unconscious chemical signals. The modern use of synthetic fragrances adds another layer of complexity as artificial aromatic compounds interact with natural pheromones to create novel chemical signatures that may enhance or interfere with innate attraction mechanisms. The psychological effects of pheromone exposure are often subtle but persistent. Unlike the immediate emotional responses triggered by conscious scent perception, pheromone influences tend to build gradually, creating slowly shifting changes in mood, attention, and social behavior. Someone's pheromone signature might make you feel more comfortable and relaxed in their presence without you ever realizing why. Another person's chemical signals might create subtle feelings of unease or incompatibility that you attribute to personality differences, but that actually originate in molecular communication systems. The individual variations in pheromone sensitivity create a spectrum of chemical communication abilities across the human population. Some people appear to be particularly sensitive to pheromone signals, showing strong behavioral and emotional responses to chemical cues that others might hardly notice. Others seem relatively insensitive to pheromone communication, relying more heavily on visual, auditory, and conscious cues for social interaction. These differences may be partly genetic, partly developmental, and partly influenced by factors like age, health status, and exposure to environmental chemicals. The technological implications of understanding pheromone communication are beginning to emerge in fields ranging from perfumery to psychology. Researchers are working to identify and synthesize human pheromones for potential therapeutic applications, exploring whether chemical supplements could help with social anxiety, relationship difficulties, or other interpersonal challenges. The perfume industry is increasingly incorporating compounds that mimic or enhance natural pheromones, creating fragrances designed not just to smell pleasant, but to trigger unconscious responses in others. The evolutionary history of pheromone communication connects human beings to the vast network of chemical signaling that governs social behavior throughout the animal kingdom. The molecular pathways that allow you to unconsciously assess genetic compatibility in a potential partner are variations on themes that help insects find mates across miles of forest, that enable salmon to return to their natal streams, that allow ants to coordinate complex social behaviors. Your participation in pheromone communication makes you part of a biological communication network that spans species and kingdoms, connecting all life through the universal language of molecular information exchange. The relationship between pheromone communication and conscious attraction is complex and not always harmonious. Sometimes the chemical signals suggest compatibility, while conscious preferences point in different directions. Other times, powerful conscious attraction exists alongside neutral or even negative pheromone compatibility. These conflicts between chemical and conscious communication can create the psychological complexity that characterizes human romantic relationships, where logic and emotion, biology and culture, conscious choice, and unconscious influence all interact. to shape the experience of love and attraction. The therapeutic potential of understanding pheromone communication extends beyond romantic relationships to encompass all forms of social interaction. Researchers are exploring how pheromone knowledge might help people with autism spectrum disorders who sometimes struggle with social communication by providing insights into the unconscious chemical signals that neurotypical individuals process automatically. Similarly, understanding pheromone communication might help address social anxiety, depression, and other psychological conditions that involve difficulties with interpersonal connection. The environmental factors that influence pheromone communication are numerous and complex. Diet affects the chemical composition of bodily secretions, potentially altering pheromone signatures. Stress hormones can interfere with normal pheromone production and detection. Medications, particularly those that affect hormone levels, can modify both the sending and receiving of chemical signals. Environmental pollutants may damage the delicate neural systems involved in pheromone detection, potentially disrupting this ancient communication system in ways we are only beginning to understand. As you rest tonight in the quiet sanctuary of your bedroom, your body continues its participation in the molecular dance of attraction, releasing your unique chemical signature into the surrounding air, unconsciously communicating information about your health, your genetic heritage, your emotional state, and your social availability. Even in sleep, the ancient systems of chemical communication remain active, maintaining the invisible bonds that connect you to the people in your life and preparing for future encounters where molecular recognition might spark new connections, deepen existing relationships, or guide you toward the genetic and social compatibilities that enhance both individual and collective well being. In the chemistry of attraction, every breath is both a message sent and a message received, a note in the endless symphony of molecular communication that binds all conscious beings in thedance of life itself. Deep in the quantum realm, where molecules exist as both particles and waves, where the boundaries between matter and energy blur into pure possibility, there unfolds a symphony of recognition more subtle and sophisticated than any human composition. The quantum symphony of molecular recognition, where the very act of smelling may involve principles of physics that operate at the most fundamental levels of reality, transforming the simple encounter between nose and molecule into a bridge between consciousness and the cosmic forces that govern existence itself. Traditional theories of olfaction have long proposed that smell recognition operates through a lock and key mechanism where the three-dimensional shape of an aromatic molecule must precisely match the three-dimensional architecture of an olfactory receptor for recognition to occur. While this shape-based theory explains many aspects of scent detection, it fails to account for some puzzling observations. Why molecules with nearly identical shapes can have completely different odors? Why molecules with very different shapes can smell remarkably similar? Why some molecular pairs that should smell identical, according to shape theory, actually have distinctly different aromatic characters? Enter the quantum theory of olfaction, a revolutionary proposal that suggests your nose may be operating as a biological quantum detector, sensitive not only to the shapes of molecules, but also to their vibrational frequencies. The quantum mechanical oscillations that occur when molecular bonds stretch and compress like microscopic springs. According to this theory, every molecule possesses a unique vibrational signature, a quantum fingerprint that arises from the specific arrangement of atoms and bonds within its structure. When you smell a rose, you may be detecting not just the shape of rose molecules, but also their quantum vibrational frequencies, their molecular music playing in dimensions beyond ordinary sensory experience. The physics underlying this quantum approach to smell involves some of the most exotic principles in modern science. When an aromatic molecule encounters an olfactory receptor, electrons within the receptor protein may undergo quantum tunneling, a phenomenon where particles can pass through energy barriers that should be impenetrable. According to classical physics, this quantum tunneling occurs only when the vibrational frequency of the aromatic molecule matches specific resonant frequencies within the receptor protein, creating a system where molecular recognition depends on quantum mechanical resonance rather than simple geometric fit. The implications of quantum olfaction extend far beyond the mechanics of smell detection to encompass our understanding of consciousness itself. If your olfactory system operates according to quantum principles, then every act of smelling involves quantum measurement, the process by which quantum possibilities collapse into specific experiential realities. In this view, the moment when you recognize the scent of jasmine is also the moment when quantum probability waves collapse into the definite experience of jasmineness, making consciousness an active participant in the quantum mechanical processes that govern molecular recognition. The evolutionary development of quantum olfaction would represent one of biology's most remarkable achievements, the harnessing of quantum mechanical principles for biological information processing. Over millions of years, natural selection would have refined olfactory receptors to function as biological quantum instruments capable of detecting molecular vibrations with precision that rivals the most sophisticated laboratory equipment. The protein structures within your olfactory receptors would have evolved to create exactly the right quantum mechanical environment for vibrational frequency detection, turning your nose into a biological spectrometer that analyzes the quantum signatures of the molecular world. The molecular basis of quantum olfaction involves the delicate interplay between protein dynamics and quantum mechanics. Olfactory receptor proteins are not static structures, but dynamic molecular machines that undergo continuous conformational changes, subtle shifts in three-dimensional architecture that occur on timescales measured in picoseconds and femtoseconds. These rapid protein movements create quantum mechanical environments where electron tunneling can occur, but only when the vibrational frequency of an incoming aromatic molecule matches the resonant frequencies created by the protein's dynamic structure. The experimental evidence for quantum olfaction comes from studies of isotope effects in smell perception. Isotopes are atoms with the same number of protons but different numbers of neutrons, creating molecules that have identical chemical structures but different vibrational frequencies due to their altered mass distributions. According to shape-based theories of olfaction, isotopic molecules should smell identical since they have identical shapes. However, research has shown that some people can distinguish between isotopic variants of aromatic molecules, suggesting that olfactory receptors are indeed sensitive to vibrational frequencies rather than shapes alone. The quantum coherence required for vibrational frequency detection in biological systems was once thought to be impossible due to the warm, wet, noisy environment inside living cells. Quantum coherence, the maintenance of quantum superposition states, typically requires extremely cold temperatures and perfect isolation from environmental disturbances. However, recent discoveries in quantum biology have revealed that living systems have evolved sophisticated mechanisms for protecting quantum coherence, even in biological environments, using protein structures that create quantum protected spaces where quantum mechanical processes can occur despite the surrounding thermal chaos. The connection between quantum olfaction and consciousness raises profound philosophical questions about the nature of subjective experience. If smell recognition involves quantum measurement, then the qualitative experience of different odors, what philosophers call qualia, might arise from the specific quantum mechanical processes that occur when molecular vibrations interact with receptor proteins. The unique subjective character of smelling a rose, the particular roseness that cannot be fully captured in words or scientific descriptions, might be the direct experience of quantum mechanical resonance between molecular and protein vibrations. The technological implications of understanding quantum olfaction could revolutionize both scientific instrumentation and medical diagnosis. Electronic noses based on quantum mechanical principles might achieve unprecedented sensitivity and selectivity, capable of detecting molecular signatures with precision that surpasses even biological olfactory systems. Medical applications might include early disease detection through quantum analysis of breath volatiles, environmental monitoring through a quantum molecular analysis, and food safety assessment through a quantum aromatic profiling. The therapeutic applications of quantum olfaction might extend into realms previously considered purely speculative. If consciousness interacts with quantum mechanical processes during smell recognition, then deliberately chosen aromatic environments might influence consciousness at the quantum level, potentially affecting neural function, emotional states, and even physical healing processes. Aromatherapy might operate not only through chemical interactions with neurotransmitter systems, but also through quantum mechanical resonances that influence the fundamental quantum processes underlying neural activity. The individual variations in quantum olfactory sensitivity could explain their remarkable diversity of human smell experiences. Different people might have slightly different quantum mechanical properties in their olfactory receptor proteins, creating variations in sensitivity to different vibrational frequencies. These quantum differences could account for why some people are particularly sensitive to certain aromatic compounds while being relatively insensitive to others, why individual odor preferences vary so dramatically, and why some individuals seem to possess almost supernatural abilities to detect and discriminate between subtle aromatic differences. The environmental factors that influence quantum olfaction include not only the obvious variables like temperature and humidity, but also subtle quantum mechanical influences that affect molecular vibrational states, electromagnetic fields, atmospheric pressure variations, and even cosmic radiation might influence the vibrational frequencies of aromatic molecules, potentially affecting their detection by quantum olfactory mechanisms. This sensitivity to environmental quantum states could make the sense of smell a detector not only of local molecular information, but also of broader environmental quantum conditions. The connection between quantum olfaction and other quantum biological processes suggests that smell recognition might be part of a larger network of quantum information processing systems within living organisms. Quantum effects have been discovered in photosynthesis, bird navigation, enzyme catalysis, and possibly even neural microtubules involved in consciousness. If olfactory receptors operate according to quantum principles, they might be connected to these other quantum biological systems, creating an integrated quantum information network that spans multiple biological processes. The meditation and mindfulness implications of quantum olfaction are particularly intriguing. If smell recognition involves quantum measurement and consciousness interaction, then mindful attention to aromatic experiences might enhance quantum coherence in olfactory systems, potentially increasing sensitivity to subtle molecular signatures and deepening the subjective quality of scent experiences. The practice of mindful breathing, central to many meditation traditions, might be unconsciously optimizing quantum olfactory processes, enhancing the quantum dialogue between consciousness and the molecular world. As you drift deeper into the peaceful quantum field of sleep tonight, your olfactory system continues its quantum symphony, detecting not only the shapes of molecules in the surrounding air, but also their vibrational signatures, their quantum musical notes, playing at frequencies that bridge the gap between matter and consciousness. In the quantum realm of molecular recognition, every breath becomes a measurement that collapses infinite possibilities into specific aromatic experiences. Every scent becomes a quantum dialogue between your consciousness and the fundamental forces that govern reality itself. Here, in the most intimate spaces where molecule meets receptor, physics becomes poetry, and the simple act of smelling reveals itself as participation in the deepest mysteries of existence. Take a deep, slow breath and allow your mind to float in the quantum symphony where molecular vibrations dance with consciousness, where every scent is both particle and wave, both chemistry and music, far beyond the familiar aromatic landscape of Earth, in the vast expanses of interstellar space, where temperature approaches absolute zero and matter exists in states unknown to terrestrial experience. There unfolds an aromatic cosmos of staggering complexity and beauty, a universe where organic molecules drift between star systems, where the chemical precursors of earthly fragrances form in the stellar nurseries, where the very compounds that create the scents we know and love may have originated in cosmic processes that began billions of years before our planet even existed. The Discovery of organic molecules in space has revolutionized our understanding of chemistry's cosmic scope. Interstellar space, once thought to be nearly empty, has revealed itself to be rich with molecular diversity. Radio telescopes scanning the galaxy have detected the spectroscopic signatures of hundreds of different organic compounds floating in the cold darkness between stars. Ethanol, methanol, formic acid, acetaldehyde, and many others that would be familiar to any terrestrial nose if concentrated and warmed to temperatures compatible with human detection. These cosmic aromatic compounds exist in molecular clouds spanning light years, vast nurseries where new stars and planets are born from the gravitational collapse of gas and dust. The formation mechanisms for these interstellar aromatics involve processes both exotic and familiar. On the surfaces of dust grains floating in space, where temperatures hover just a few degrees above absolute zero, simple atoms and molecules can stick and accumulate over millions of years. Cosmic radiation provides the energy needed to drive chemical reactions between these accumulated materials, slowly building up complex organic molecules through pathways that mirror some of the same chemical processes that occur in terrestrial environments, but under conditions so extreme that they challenge our understanding of chemistry's possibilities. The molecular complexity achieved in space is truly remarkable. Astronomers have detected benzene rings, the fundamental structural units of many terrestrial aromatics, floating in the carbon rich atmospheres of dying stars. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, complex molecules containing multiple interconnected ring structures, appear to be among the most abundant organic compounds in the galaxy. Their distinctive spectroscopic signatures, visible in the infrared radiation from star forming regions, planetary nebulae, and the diffuse interstellar medium. These cosmic aromatics represent a kind of universal chemistry that connects our local aromatic experiences to processes occurring throughout the galaxy. The delivery of cosmic aromatics to Earth represents one of the most romantic chapters in the story of terrestrial chemistry. Comets, those wandering repositories of ancient ice and organic compounds, serve as cosmic delivery vehicles that have been bringing interstellar aromatics to Earth for billions of years. When comets approach the Sun and begin to sublimate, they release into Earth's atmosphere the same organic molecules that formed in the cold depths of space, mixing cosmic chemistry with terrestrial chemistry in an ongoing dialogue between local and universal processes. Every breath you take may contain traces of molecules that once drifted between the stars. The astrobiological implications of cosmic aromatics extend far beyond mere chemical curiosity to encompass fundamental questions about the universality of life and consciousness. If the molecular building blocks of terrestrial aromatics are common throughout the galaxy, then the chemical prerequisites for smell based communication systems may exist wherever liquid water and moderate temperatures create conditions suitable for complex chemistry. The aromatic compounds that trigger emotional responses, create memories, and facilitate social bonding on Earth might serve similar functions in biological systems that evolved independently on distant worlds. The spectroscopic detection of cosmic aromatics relies on the fact that molecules absorb and emit electromagnetic radiation at specific wavelengths determined by their vibrational and rotational energy states. When starlight passes through molecular clouds containing organic compounds, certain wavelengths are absorbed, creating dark lines in the stellar spectrum that serve as molecular fingerprints. By analyzing these spectroscopic signatures, astronomers can identify specific molecules and estimate their abundances across vast distances, essentially performing chemical analysis of regions of space that are trillions of miles away. The environmental conditions in space create unique opportunities for aromatic chemistry that cannot be replicated on Earth. The perfect vacuum of interstellar space allows molecules to exist in isolation for millions of years without colliding with other particles, creating opportunities for studying pure molecular behavior impossible in terrestrial laboratories. The intense radiation fields near young stars can drive exotic chemical reactions that create aromatic compounds through pathways that don't exist on Earth. The extreme cold of space stabilizes molecular configurations that would be unstable under terrestrial conditions, potentially creating aromatic compounds with properties unlike anything in earthly experience. The stellar origins of aromatic elements add another layer of cosmic connection to terrestrial scent experiences. The carbon atoms that form the backbone of every aromatic molecule were forged in the nuclear furnaces of ancient stars, created through nuclear fusion processes that convert lighter elements into heavier ones. When these stars reached the end of their lives and exploded as supernovae, they scattered their carbon rich products throughout space, seeding the galaxy with the raw materials needed for aromatic chemistry. Every scent molecule contains atoms that were once part of stellar cores, making every aromatic experience a communion with cosmic history. The planetary diversity of aromatic environments represents a fascinating expansion of our terrestrial perspective. Venus's thick atmosphere contains sulfur compounds that would create aromatic experiences unlike anything on Earth, if any nose existed there to detect them. Mars's thin atmosphere occasionally carries dust particles that contain organic compounds preserved from the planet's ancient past, creating an aromatic archaeology that spans billions of years. The hydrocarbon lakes on Titan, Saturn's largest moon, represent aromatic environments based on methane and ethane rather than water, potentially supporting forms of chemistry and even biochemistry radically different from terrestrial patterns. The search for biosignatures in exoplanet atmospheres increasingly focuses on detecting organic compounds that might indicate the presence of life. Aromatic molecules produced by biological processes could potentially be detected in the atmospheres of distant planets using next generation space telescopes, creating the possibility of smelling, in a metaphorical sense, the chemical signatures of alien biospheres. The aromatic compounds produced by Earth's biosphere create a distinctive chemical signature that could be detected by alien astronomers studying our planet from distant star systems, making terrestrial aromatics part of our planet's cosmic calling card. The cosmic recycling of aromatic compounds creates a kind of galactic circulation system where molecules formed in one stellar system can eventually become incorporated into planets orbiting completely different stars. The organic compounds detected in meteorites represent samples of this cosmic aromatic circulation, carrying molecules that may have originated in stellar systems that no longer exist, preserving chemical information from earlier epochs of galactic history. The aromatic compounds in your morning coffee may contain atoms that were once part of aromatic molecules floating in interstellar space billions of years ago. The laboratory simulation of cosmic aromatic chemistry has become a rapidly growing field of research as scientists attempt to recreate the extreme conditions of space to understand how complex organic molecules can form and survive in interstellar environments. These experiments involve cooling reaction chambers to near absolute zero, exposing simple molecules to intense radiation, and studying the chemical products that result from these cosmic conditions. The results consistently show that organic chemistry is more robust and more creative than previously imagined, capable of generating complex aromatic compounds under conditions that seem hostile to any kind of chemistry. The philosophical implications of cosmic aromatics challenge our understanding of uniqueness and universality in chemical experience. If aromatic compounds are common throughout the galaxy, then the chemical basis for ascent-based communication, emotion, and memory may represent universal principles rather than terrestrial accidents. The subjective experience of smelling a flower might be one instance of a cosmic phenomenon that occurs wherever complex chemistry encounters consciousness, making every aromatic experience a participation in processes that span the galaxy and connect Earth to the larger community of worlds where chemistry and consciousness intersect. The future exploration of cosmic aromatics will likely involve sophisticated robotic missions that can sample the atmospheric chemistry of other worlds and return samples to Earth for analysis. Imagine the profound expansion of human aromatic experience that might result from encountering the chemical signatures of alien biospheres, from detecting aromatic compounds that have no terrestrial analogs, from discovering forms of chemistry that create entirely new categories of scent experience. The aromatic cosmos beyond Earth represents an infinite expansion of the chemical vocabulary available to consciousness, a vast library of molecular possibilities waiting to be explored. As you rest tonight under a sky filled with distant suns and unseen worlds, remember that the aromatic cosmos extends far beyond the familiar sense of Earth to encompass chemical processes occurring throughout the galaxy. The molecules drifting through your bedroom air are part of a cosmic aromatic network that connects your local environment to the vast chemical creativity of the universe itself. In space, aromatic compounds are being formed, transported, and transformed according to principles that operated long before Earth existed and will continue long after our planet's story has ended. The cosmic aromatics that surround and permeate our world remind us that consciousness and chemistry are not isolated terrestrial phenomena, but expressions of universal principles that may bloom wherever the conditions are right for the marriage of matter and awareness, molecule and mind, chemistry, and the cosmic dream of awakening. In the realm of molecular architecture, where atoms arrange themselves into structures more elegant than any human cathedral, more intricate than any crystalline palace, there exists a poetry written in the language of chemical bonds, a poetry where every aromatic molecule is both verse and meaning, both form and function, both the medium and the message in the ongoing dialogue between chemistry and consciousness that makes the experience of scent possible. Consider the exquisite molecular architecture of geraniol, one of the primary compounds responsible for the scent of roses. Its structure reads like a line of chemical poetry, a chain of 10 carbon atoms arranged in a precise geometric pattern, punctuated by hydrogen atoms that provide stability and adorned with a hydroxyl group that gives the molecule its aromatic character. The double bonds within its carbon framework create areas of electron density that influence how the molecule interacts with olfactory receptors, while the overall three-dimensional shape determines which specific receptors it can activate. Every aspect of its molecular architecture contributes to its ability to evoke the subjective experience we call rose-like. The relationship between molecular structure and aromatic character follows principles that mirror those found in human poetry. Subtle variations in arrangement can create dramatically different effects. Similar themes can be expressed through different structural approaches, and the most powerful aromatic experiences often emerge from the harmonious integration of multiple structural elements. Just as a poet might choose between different meters and rhythms to create specific emotional effects, nature employs different molecular architectures to create the vast spectrum of aromatic experiences that color our chemical environment. The concept of molecular handedness or chirality adds another dimension to the poetry of aromatic architecture. Many aromatic molecules exist in two mirror image forms, like left and right hands, that have identical chemical formulas but different three-dimensional arrangements. These chiral variants, called enantiomers, can have completely different aromatic properties despite their structural similarity. The R enantiomer of limonene smells like oranges, while the S enantiomer smells like lemons. This chirality demonstrates how the three-dimensional architecture of molecules determines their aromatic character with exquisite precision, where the difference between citrus types is encoded in the subtle spatial arrangement of atoms. The molecular architecture of aromatic compounds reflects the fundamental forces that govern atomic behavior: electromagnetic attraction and repulsion, quantum mechanical orbital shapes, thermodynamic stability principles, and kinetic factors that determine how quickly molecular changes can occur. The double bonds in manaromatic compounds arise from the sharing of electrons between carbon atoms, creating regions of high electron density that contribute to molecular stability and aromatic character. The angles between bonds reflect the quantum mechanical properties of atomic orbitals, while the overall molecular shape emerges from the balance between attractive and repulsive forces operating at the atomic scale. The aromatic compounds found in essential oils demonstrate the remarkable diversity of molecular architectural solutions to the challenge of creating distinctive scent signatures. Terpenes, the largest family of aromatic compounds, are built from 5 carbon isoprene units that can be combined in countless ways to create molecules ranging from simple monoterpenes like pinene, the characteristic scent of pine forests, to complex sesquiterpenes like patchoulol, the earthy, musky aroma of patchouli. Each terpene represents a different architectural approach to creating aromatic character, a different solution to the challenge of encoding scent information in molecular structure. The esters that give fruit their characteristic fragrances represent another family of molecular architecture, where organic acids and alcohols combine to create compounds with sweet, fruity aromatic properties. The ester ethyl acetate, responsible for the smell of nail polish remover, but also present in some fruits, demonstrates how the same molecular architecture can be perceived differently depending on concentration and context. The molecular architecture of esters includes a characteristic carbonyl group, carbon double bonded to oxygen, that influences both their chemical reactivity and their aromatic properties, creating a structural signature that the human olfactory system has learned to associate with sweetness and ripeness. The aldehydes and ketones that contribute to many floral and fruity scents represent molecular architectures built around carbonyl groups, those double bonds between carbon and oxygen that create regions of partial electrical charge within the molecule. These partial charges influence how the molecules interact with olfactory receptors and also affect their volatility, determining how readily they escape from their source and travel through the air to reach detection systems. The molecular architecture of aldehydes, with their carbonyl group positioned at the end of a carbon chain, creates different aromatic properties than ketones, where the carbonyl group occupies an internal position. The phenolic compounds found in spices, herbs, and flowers represent some of the most architecturally elegant aromatic molecules, featuring benzene rings adorned with hydroxyl groups that create complex patterns of electron distribution. The molecule eugenol, which gives cloves their distinctive scent, combines a benzene ring with both hydroxyl and methoxy functional groups, creating a molecular architecture that produces one of the most immediately recognizable and emotionally evocative aromas in the human experience. The structural complexity of phenolic compounds allows them to interact with multiple types of olfactory receptors simultaneously, creating rich, multifaceted aromatic experiences. The molecular architecture of sulfur containing aromatic compounds represents some of chemistry's most dramatically effective aromatic designs. The compound responsible for the smell of freshly cut onions, propanethyl S oxide, demonstrate show the inclusion of sulfur atoms in molecular architecture can create intensely powerful aromatic experiences. Sulfur's chemical properties, including its ability to form multiple types of bonds and its tendency to create compounds with high volatility, make sulfur-containing molecules particularly effective at reaching olfactory receptors and triggering strong responses. The molecular architecture of these compounds often includes sulfur atoms in positions that maximize both volatility and receptor interaction. The aromatic compounds responsible for the scents of the ocean demonstrate how molecular architecture can encode environmental information in chemical structure. Dimethyl sulfide, one of the primary compounds responsible for the characteristic smell of seawater, has a simple molecular architecture consisting of a sulfur atom bonded to two methyl groups. This elegant simplicity allows the molecule to be volatile enough to travel through ocean spray and stable enough to maintain its structural integrity during atmospheric transport. The molecular architecture of marine aromatics reflects the chemical constraints of aquatic environments while maintaining the structural features necessary for aromatic detection. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a garden at dusk. The air is thick with the perfume of night-blooming jasmine, the dampness of earth, the faint trace of smoke from a distant fire. Nothing touches your skin, nothing presses against your body, yet your mind stirs with 1,000 impressions. That is the power of scent, a ghost that enters through the air, invisible and intangible, yet able to summon memories, awaken emotions, and bend time itself. This is the story of how molecules, tiny dancers in the atmosphere, compose a symphony that resonates not just in your nose, but in your consciousness, a symphony that stretches from the chemistry of carbon bonds to the philosophy of eternity, from the fleeting fragrance of a rose to the boundless echo of the cosmos. At its heart, smell begins with chemistry. A scent is nothing more and nothing less than molecules, volatile compounds light enough to drift through the air. Unlike taste, which requires direct contact, or sight, which is a dance of photons, smell is the whisper of matter itself. Consider linalool, the floral note of lavender, or geosmin, the earthy molecule that arises from soil after rain, or vanillin, the sweet warmth that makes vanilla comforting to nearly every culture on earth. These are not vague essences, but chemical signatures built from arrangements of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and sometimes nitrogen or sulfur. Yet chemistry alone does not explain why these molecules become experiences. When they enter your nose, they find their way to receptors, protein gateways, embedded in the olfactory epithelium. Each receptor has a shape, a molecular lock into which only certain molecules can fit. But unlike the rigid lock and key metaphor, smell is more like chords in music. A single molecule can activate multiple receptors, and a single receptor can respond to many molecules. Together, they form patterns, neural harmonies, that the brain interprets as scent. A jasmine flower, therefore, is not one smell, but thousands, layered from indoles to benzenoids, each binding to receptors, each sending tiny electrical messages that converge into an orchestra of perception. But why do these molecules exist at all? Why should carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen arrange themselves into perfumes that stir human souls? The answer is both biological and cosmic. Plants create scents for survival, for pollination, for defense, for communication. A rose does not bloom for us, but for bees. Its fragrance is a molecular advertisement, a signal to the air. Similarly, the bitter sharpness of a citrus peel is a weapon, keeping predators at bay. Yet behind this evolutionary story lies a deeper truth. The atoms that make up every fragrance were forged in stars. Oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, these were once the fire-born remnants of stellar furnaces. The jasmine molecule that makes you nostalgic for summer nights was once dust in the heart of a sun. When you inhale, you're not only drawing in scent, you are drawing in the cosmos, remembering itself. And so, smell becomes more than survival. It becomes a dialogue between matter and memory, between life and the universe that birthed it. Let us follow a single molecule, a puff of geosmin, born in the soil after rain. It begins when raindrops strike the ground, releasing microbial secretions into the air. A molecule of geosmin lifts upward, carried by a draft, swirling into the breeze. It drifts through streets, through gardens, through the invisible architecture of wind, until it finds its way to your nose. There, in the moist cavern of the nostril, it meets a receptor, or 51E2, a protein shaped to recognize earthy aldehydes. The geosmin binds, a chain reaction begins, electrical impulses fire along the olfactory bulb. Neurons spark, the brain receives the pattern, and suddenly, in your consciousness, there is the smell of rain. Not just a sensation, but a flood of memory. Childhood afternoons splashing in puddles, the freshness of soil, the promise of renewal. A simple molecule becomes a story. This is the miracle. Matter transformed into meaning, unlike sight or sound, which pass through the thalamus, the brain's relay station. Smell takes a direct route to the limbic system, the seat of emotion and memory. That is why a fragrance can collapse decades in an instant. A single whiff of cinnamon can take you back to kitchens of childhood. The musk of an old book can resurrect forgotten afternoons of youth. The faintest trace of perfume can summon a face you thought you had lost. Scent is time travel. It is the brain's hidden archive, unlocked not by effort, but by the chance encounter of molecules. Unlike photographs or words, which we consciously process, scent ambushes us. It bypasses reason and plunges straight into feeling. Perhaps that is why perfume has always seemed magical, why incense lingers in temples, why smoke rises with prayer. Scent is a bridge between the material and the eternal. What, then, is beauty in scent? Why does the fragrance of roses seem divine, while the stench of sulfur feels like corruption? Part of the answer lies in biology. Our ancestors survived by avoiding dangerous odors, rotting flesh, toxic gases, and by seeking nourishing ones, ripe fruit, fertile soil, flowering plants. Evolution sculpted our preferences, but beyond survival lies something else, the recognition of harmony. Just as music is not merely vibration, but order in vibration, so scent is not merely molecules, but order in molecules. A perfect balance of notes, a perfume composed of citrus, floral, and woody accords, creates not only sensory pleasure, but metaphysical resonance. To smell is to perceive the hidden geometry of matter. It is to glimpse, however fleetingly, the harmony of the universe. And here arises the question, If every scent is temporary, does it nonetheless hint at eternity? A fragrance is the most fragile of experiences. The moment you smell it, it is already gone. Molecules drift, receptors reset, the wind carries them away. And yet, though each whiff is fleeting, the possibility of scent is eternal. As long as matter exists, as long as molecules vibrate, there will be patterns in the air waiting to be perceived. This paradox, fragility with impermanence, makes scent a metaphor for consciousness itself. Your thoughts, too, are fleeting. Each one rises and falls, dissolving into the stream of time, and yet consciousness endures. The self, like fragrance, is both transient and timeless. Perhaps this is why certain spiritual traditions equate breath with soul. To inhale is to partake in the ceaseless cycle of matter becoming meaning. Now imagine beyond Earth. Could there be scents on other planets? On Titan, Saturn's moon, hydrocarbons thicken the atmosphere. On Mars, iron dust would smell metallic. In the nebulae of interstellar space, we detect complex organic molecules, precursors to life, perhaps fragrances yet unborn. Astronomers have found evidence of ethyl formate in Sagittarius B2, a massive gas cloud. Ethyl formate smells of rum and raspberries. Imagine that, at the center of our galaxy, in a vast star-forming region, there is the aroma of fruit and liquor, drifting in the cosmic dark. If the universe has a fragrance, perhaps it is not one scent, but a chord, a vast perfume of stars, planets, and dust rising endlessly in symphony. So let us return to the garden at dusk. The jasmine is still blooming, the soil still damp, the smoke still rising in the distance. Each molecule that enters your nose is part of a symphony, the eternal symphony of scent and consciousness. The violins are the floral aldehydes, light and sweet. The cellos are the earthy terpenes, rich and grounding. The percussion is sulfur, sharp and brash, and your mind is the hall in which it all resonates. Science explains the mechanics, but the meaning lies in the experience. Matter becomes memory, molecules become music, fleeting becomes eternal. In this way, scent reminds us of our place in the universe. We are creatures of chemistry, yet also creatures of wonder. We inhale the dust of stars, we exhale stories, and every breath is an invitation to smell, to remember, to awaken, to recognize that even in the smallest molecule, drifting unseen, there is the echo of eternity. Imagine walking through a library at night, not the kind lined with wooden shelves and parchment pages, but a library made of air, where each corridor is filled not with books, but with fragrances. Here, the spines are made of molecules, the titles written in scent, and the chapters whispered directly to the heart. This is the infinite library of aromatic memory, a place where every fragrance you have ever encountered and every fragrance the universe has ever crafted is stored in the quiet architecture of your brain. To step into this library is to step into the very nature of smell, chemistry transmuted into meaning, molecules transformed into memory. It is a place where the smallest vibration of atoms becomes poetry and where the fleeting reveals its eternal face. Every scent begins with a molecule. Volatile compounds, small and light enough to drift into the air, carry with them the signature of their origins. These molecules are shaped by bonds of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and sometimes nitrogen or sulfur. They travel invisibly, riding currents of air until they meet the entrance to your nose. There, within the folds of the olfactory epithelium, receptors await, proteins shaped like intricate locks. When a molecule finds its match, it binds, setting off a cascade of electrical impulses. But here lies the wonder. The brain does not treat each receptor's message as an isolated note. It combines them into patterns, chords, symphonies. A rose is not one molecule, but hundreds, each interacting with dozens of receptors, each adding a note to the greater harmony. It is this complexity that makes fragrance so powerful. No two smells are ever identical, no two memories ever quite the same. Where do these symphonies go? Straight into the limbic system, the ancient heart of the brain. Unlike vision or sound, which pass through filters of logic and reasoning, scent bypasses them all. It moves directly into the architecture of emotion and memory. This is why a single whiff of cinnamon can collapse decades, transporting you to the warmth of childhood kitchens. This is why the faint musk of old paper can bring back afternoons lost in forgotten books. Scent is not mediated, it is immediate. It does not ask permission before it opens doors long closed. The limbic system is, in a sense, the shelving system of the infinite library. Each fragrance that enters is cataloged, not in words, but in feelings, in moods, in quiet associations. Let us follow a molecule, as we did before, but this time let us place it in the grand halls of the infinite library. A molecule of vanillin rises from the warm surface of a cake. It drifts into the air, lifted by heat. It travels across the room and enters your nostril. The receptor welcomes it, the brain interprets it. But in the library of your memory, vanillin does not appear as a chemical. It appears as a book, its spine bound in golden brown, its pages edged with warmth. When you open it, you see birthdays, you hear laughter, you feel the glow of candles. The molecule, in truth, is gone in seconds, metabolized, dissipated, but the book remains on the shelf, waiting for the next time you encounter that fragrance. This is why smells can be so haunting. You may not even notice them until suddenly, without warning, one pierces through the air and strikes you with memory. It is not the present scent alone that you experience, but its echo, its layered past. To smell freshly cut grass is to stand not only in this summer, but in every summer that has ever been. The library grows not in size, but in depth, layering one fragrance upon another, like palimpsests of experience. To encounter a scent is never to meet it for the first time, but to meet it in chorus with every other time it has touched your life. Here lies the paradox. Scent is the most fragile of the senses. A fragrance vanishes almost as soon as it appears. Molecules drift away, receptors reset, and the air returns to stillness. And yet, scent is also the most eternal. Its imprint on memory is deeper than sight. deeper than sound. A perfume worn once may be remembered forever. A single fragrance may echo across decades. This fragility within permanence is what makes scent such a powerful metaphor for existence itself. We are fleeting. Our moments pass quickly, like molecules drifting in the air. Yet the meaning we leave behind, the impressions we create, may echo far longer than our bodies. And what of sense beyond Earth? Might the infinite library extend beyond human memory into the cosmos itself? Astronomers have detected molecules drifting in interstellar clouds. Among them is ethyl formate, the very compound that gives rum its sweetness and raspberries their fruitiness. In the vast Sagittarius B2 cloud, near the center of our galaxy, there floats the fragrance of fruit and liquor, born not of orchards, but of starfire and dust. Imagine this: the Milky Way itself holds volumes in the library of scent. Titan, Saturn's moon, may smell of gasoline and solvents. Mars might carry the iron tang of rusted dust. Comets, laced with complex organics, trail perfumes older than the earth. If smell is memory, then the universe itself remembers. Each molecule drifting in space is a story of chemistry waiting for someone to breathe it, to give it meaning. What then is beauty in scent? Is it only survival, sculpted by evolution to guide us toward nourishment and away from danger? Or is it something deeper, something cosmic? When we delight in the perfume of roses, when we are calmed by lavender, when we are stirred by the salt of the sea, we are not merely reacting to biology, we are resonating with harmony. Beauty in scent may be nothing more or nothing less than resonance, a pattern of molecules that vibrates with the architecture of our nervous system and through it with the hidden order of the universe. In this way, to smell is not only to survive, but to commune with eternity. Perhaps, then, the infinite library of aromatic memory is not just metaphor, but truth. Perhaps our souls are, in part, archives of scent, records of every moment carried invisibly in the air, translated into meaning within us. If this is so, then every breath is sacred. Each inhalation is both survival and remembrance. We breathe the world not only into our lungs, but into our stories. And in time, when we exhale, perhaps we too leave molecules behind, fragments of ourselves drifting into the memories of others. And so we arrive at the final corridor of this chapter. The infinite library stretches on without end, its shelves filled with the perfumes of earth and the fragrances of stars. We walk among them, readers of matter, translators of chemistry into poetry. We are both the archive and the archivist, both the shelves and the reader turning their pages. To breathe is to read, to remember is to live again, and to smell is to glimpse eternity, fleeting yet everlasting, fragile yet infinite. For every fragrance you have ever known is still with you, every perfume of the earth, every whisper of rain, every bloom of jasmine at night, all live on in the silent library of your mind. And so the story continues, written in molecules, bound in memory, echoing forever in the infinite library of aromatic memory. And so we arrive at the quiet threshold of this journey, the last page in a chapter that has wandered through chemistry and cosmos, through memory and meaning. We have seen how fragrance begins in the simplest of places, in the bonds of carbon and hydrogen, in molecules so small they drift unseen through the air. We have followed them into the labyrinth of the mind, where they awaken the deepest corridors of memory, bypassing reason, striking directly at the heart. And together, we have stepped into the infinite library, a place without shelves or walls, where every fragrance you have ever encountered rests like a book waiting to be reopened. This library is alive. Its walls expand and contract with every breath you take. Its corridors echo with laughter long past. Its rooms are filled with the warmth of kitchens, the hush of gardens, the electricity of thunderstorms. It does not matter if you remember them consciously. The library remembers for you. The musk of soil after rain is stored there. The perfume of flowers blooming at dusk is stored there. Even the faintest trace of a fragrance that brushed against your life only once still has its place, waiting. And when the right molecule drifts into your nose, the book opens. Suddenly, time folds. Past and present collapse into one moment. You are here and there, now and then, both at once. It is strange, isn't it? A fragrance is the most fragile of experiences. It lives only for a breath, only for a passing second, before it vanishes into the air. And yet, it can last within you for decades, maybe a lifetime. This paradox, fragile yet eternal, is what makes scent so deeply human, so deeply cosmic. It is proof that the smallest things, the most fleeting impressions, can outlast even time. A molecule dissolves in the wind, but the memory it carries becomes part of you forever. The infinite library is not yours alone. Each person carries one within them, and each is unique, shaped by culture, by childhood, by chance encounters with the world. But sometimes our libraries overlap. The fragrance of vanilla is warmth to many. The smell of the sea stirs longing in countless hearts. Smoke rising from incense or firewood calls to something ancient in all of us. In these overlaps, we glimpse the truth. Our separate libraries are part of one greater archive, the memory of life itself. Plants, animals, and people are bound by this fragrant language. Every breath connects us to the breath of others, past and present, and beyond Earth, the archive continues. Molecules drift in star-forming regions, carrying the sweet scent of raspberries and rum. Comets trail perfumes older than our planet. Moons and planets hold the tang of dust, the bite of methane, the whisper of iron. The universe, too, remembers. Its library is infinite, its shelves lined with the chemistry of creation. We, breathing here on Earth, are part of that library, reading it one molecule at a time. And now, as you prepare to rest, know this: you are never far from the infinite library. With every breath, you step inside it. With every scent, you open a page. With every memory, you read a story written long ago. The fragrances around you tonight, whether faint or strong, familiar or strange, are not accidents. They are chapters. threads of connection tying you to earth and sky, to your past and to the eternity that stretches before you. You are a reader of molecules, an archivist of memory, a keeper of the eternal symphony of scent and consciousness. So breathe deeply. Now, let the air fill your lungs. Let the stories of the world around you settle in your mind. The infinite library is vast, but you are at home in it. Every fragrance you've ever known waits for you there, gentle and unforgotten. And as your thoughts grow softer, as sleep begins to gather at the edges of your awareness, let this truth carry you. You are part of the eternal archive. A fleeting fragrance, yes, but also a memory that endures. As you rest, remember the universe watches over you,